All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another CMSWire webinar. My name is Michael Trapchak, and I am here today to help answer any general or technical questions that you may have. Before we get started, I would like to welcome you to today's webinar, Navigating the Path to Composable Architecture. Here's today's timing breakdown. These numbers are just rough, so don't hold us to these. At any point during today's webinar, if you have a question, please don't hesitate to submit those using the Q&A tab on the right side of your screen. You can chat with your fellow attendees by clicking the public chat that is also on the right side of your screen. We have a few resources made available to you on the Docs tab. Here's a little bit about us here at CMSWire. We were founded in 2003 and cover the primary topics that you see here on this slide. You can read our great content and register for upcoming conferences and webinars all by visiting www.cmswire.com. I want to thank today's sponsor, Arke, for making today's webinar possible. Arke is a full-service experience design and technology consultancy. Arke exists to reimagine how brands form lasting connections with customers by transforming meaningful insights into memorable digital experiences that drive conversation. You can learn more at www.arke.com. Okay, it's time to introduce our speakers. Today, I am joined by Eric Stoll, the CEO and founder at Arke, and Sarah Kimmel, the VP of Research at CMSWire. Eric, I'll pass it on to you.
All right, thank you. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Eric Stoll, CEO, founder of Arke. Welcome to our webinar series, Navigating the Path to Composable Architecture. Today, we're discussing our recent research with CMSWire, insights from senior leaders in digital transformation. A little about us, we are Arke. We're a digital transformation agency and technology consultancy in Atlanta and Brazil, and we help brands reimagine their digital experience and create digital products that inspire, engage, and convert. Over the last 18 years, we've helped organizations stay on the leading edge of marketing technology, and we partnered with CMSWire on this research to help organizations better understand the benefits of shifting to the composable architecture paradigm, to determine if that effort is worth it and if it's worth doing right now. As you know, digital transformation is never done. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And this research helped validate our intuition that right over the horizon are tremendous rewards for organizations that move in this direction. And Sarah, I'll pass it to you.
All right, thank you, Eric. Hello, everyone. I am Sarah Kimmel. I'm the VP of Research for CMSWire. And I am super excited to share the findings from our recent research project that we partnered with Arke on. We're going to share new data that illustrates the challenges that are facing organizations that are in the process of adopting composable web architectures. First, I'm going to walk you through the survey methodology, let you know where this data is coming from, and then we'll walk through the key findings overall. And then we're going to take kind of a closer look at three big takeaway areas from the research that together tell the story of where the adoption of composable is right now. How much further most organizations have to go on the path to composability, and what some organizations are doing to see more success and better outcomes. Along the way, Eric is going to help us understand and contextualize the research findings with what he sees out in the market right now. So the research can tell you what is happening out there, but Eric is going to help us to understand why it's happening, and also what you might be doing, what you should be doing to get the most out of your adoption of composable. If you are interested in taking a deeper dive into the survey results than what we're able to share today, the full research white paper with the results is available for free download on the Docs tab for everyone who's attending the webinar today. So feel free to pop over there and download it and enjoy it at your leisure, or share it with others in your organization who may be interested. Okay, so first let's take a look at this survey methodology. Let me tell you about the data. Okay, So the trends in digital transformation survey for CX was designed to gather information about the challenges organizations are having with their MarTech stack, and specifically what's motivating the move towards composable web architectures, the barriers to adoption of a composable approach, and what successful composable implementation looks like. So I want to back up and make sure we're all on the same page with composability. Composability in a customer experience context means that data can be shared back and forth between different platforms, right? And that data from one source can be combined with data from other sources smoothly and without duplication or error. So for most companies, this kind of capability leads to improving the customer experience, increasing personalization, and more consistency, having a single source of truth. And it also means that you can more easily construct a smooth customer experience and hopefully iterate on improving that experience because the data will be captured and shared back and forth between all of the platforms that are used to create that customer experience. And at CMSWire, we've seen a trend for the past several years towards increasing composability. So this survey was delivered online January through March of 2024. So it's very recent data. We had a group of 422 executives participate in the study. They were all from organizations in North America. 86% of them were at or above director level, and 90% of them work in the manufacturing, hospitality, or retail industry verticals, and 89% of them are from organizations with more than 500 employees. So our sample represents sort of mid-size and large, mostly B2C companies in sectors with more complex customer experiences and journeys. Okay. So let's take a look at some of the key findings and the key takeaways from the research. Okay. All right. So broadly speaking, what we see in the research is what we've seen over the last few years. There's a growing wave of organizations that are heading in a composable direction. Most of them have adopted a composable mindset, and their platform and software preferences, as well as their budgets, kind of reflect the adoption of this composable mindset. However, most of them are not yet very advanced in the process of transitioning to composable web architectures, and they're feeling the pain of that transition. Both cost and complexity are the barriers that are primarily in the way of their path to increased composability. And finally, organizations that are more advanced with fully composable architectures are experiencing better outcomes than those that are not as far along in the process of transitioning to composable at this time. So one of the things that we definitely see in the data is that the most advanced group is actually seeing a lot of better outcomes, and we're going to dig into a lot of the details there. Eric, did anything about the current state of adoption for composable web architecture surprise you? Like what's your read on the broad findings that we see in the market for composable adoption?
Yeah, did it surprise me? Not really, but I think it requires a little bit of context. And in my experience, there's kind of two kinds of organizations. There's a digital first company, and then there's a digital future company. And you can think of digital first like any organization that maybe started in the last 10 years. They started in the digital age. They've created a business around digital innovation. Some of these have created new industries, but by and large, the ones to watch out for have put digital at the forefront and are reshaping traditional industries. For them, digital is the brand experience. It is their best salesperson. Customers are coming to them for speed, convenience, and value, and they're using digital innovation to turn industries on their head. We know who these companies are, right? It's Amazon, it's Purple, Warby Parker, Proper Cloth, Uber, Tesla, Spotify, on and on. Customers are gravitating to these experiences for their speed, value, and convenience. Contrast that with the digital future companies. They didn't build their company around a digital experience. They're in the mall, they have a brick and mortar, they adapted to technology along the way. And they don't have that digital first mindset, possibly. They're retrofitting that digital experience into the traditional business, and technology isn't new for them, but the technology that they have in their back office and whatnot is based on previous generations and what was available then. So they have tech debt. They're related to things, they've implemented over the years using older platforms, and they're trying to innovate while also keeping the lights on and incrementally eliminate that along the way. Today, generally the best digital strategies are defining industries, not the best physical experience. And even industries that feel insulated are beginning to realize nobody's safe. Competitors who take digital seriously can turn an industry on its head, and organizations who already have will remain in a strong position to innovate and respond to customer demands quickly. Most companies aren't digital first. To hear that cost and complexity are the main barriers isn't really a surprise to me, because those companies need to innovate their digital experience while also managing and replacing many generations of technology that'll support it. And if you're struggling to imagine how to make that bold move and use digital to fully disrupt your industry, I say start by imagining your company as a digital-only brand. Reshape the entire business with that extreme mindset. And if you can dream up that aspirational state, then you'll land in this magical place that blends digital and physical experiences in a really authentic and disruptive way.
All right. Okay, so let's dig in a little bit harder here and take a look at the data, and let's look at how composable has really become the cardinal direction for organizations. So composable is absolutely, without question, the direction that CX is trending in. It's a high or moderate priority for 95% of the people that we surveyed. And it's not just that they say that composable adoption is a priority. 83% of them say that budgets for digital transformation are increasing for them. And the areas with expected spending increases are software, proprietary systems, and headcount. And that software number is 89%. So that's really one of the things that we've seen a lot, is that organizations are saying that they are not done investing in platforms like that. It's not oh, we've purchased everything and we're just making it work. It's they're still investing in new platforms that they want to get the capabilities to create the customer experiences that they want. So this is really consistent with what we're seeing in other CMSWire research as well. Organizations that they are still investing, say that they are still investing in software for their MarTech stack, and they are looking for additional capabilities, and they're not yet happy with the current state of their MarTech stack. So let's take a little bit of a closer look there. Furthermore, so in terms of like the evidence that composable is really that's it, this is the future direction, there has been broad adoption of a composable mindset for customer experience. When we ask whether they tend to prefer best of breed or integrated suites when they're adding to their current MarTech stack, 79% of them prefer either best of breed solutions or a combination of best of breed and integrated suites. So this is at its core a composable approach. If you have to connect together several different platforms and tools and technologies, you're in a composable space by default. These days, composable is just kind of like the automatic place where organizations are. The days where most organizations were investing in an all-in-one integrated monolithic suite really seem to be over. So less than 1 in 5, only 19% of the people that we surveyed said that their organization prefers investing in an integrated suite alone for their MarTech stack. Okay. So we also asked respondents what the pain points they were experiencing are in their current MarTech stack. And these are the factors that are really motivating organizations to invest in new tools and platforms. And they're also driving the adoption of composability. And what they say is that the ability to roll out new campaigns is too slow. The total cost of ownership is too high. And that integrating between tools is too difficult. Nearly a third also say that it's hard for them to get a clear view of customer behavior and preferences, and that it's hard to manage privacy compliance across the stack. Many of these pain points are related to each other. So difficulty with integration, for example, can slow down your ability to get a campaign out into the market quickly. It can also impact your ability to get insights from customer behavior. And it can also make it harder to manage privacy compliance efficiently. So in addition to the pain points, we also asked what benefits organizations are specifically looking for in a composable solution. And what they said is that they want programs to be easier to operate. They want it to be easier for their teams to build experiences, and they want more cost efficiency. So in echoing what we heard in the pain points, they want to lower the total cost of operations and increase their interoperability and flexibility. So Eric, it seems like organizations have clearly adopted a composable mindset and are really seeing this as the obvious path for the future. Why do you think this is? Why have we moved on from the days of the one big integrated suite? What makes composable kind of the obvious choice for organizations?
I think there's a few reasons. So, I mean, we've talked about the market reasons to really embrace this elevated digital product for the organization. But in order to execute that effectively, you have to be nimble, you have to be quick, you have to understand the importance of creating something really unique and having full control over that product itself. So why are companies adopting composable? I think you have to look at where they're coming from. Most are coming from that monolithic platform that you just described. And the bottom line is it comes down to the fact that those platforms were slowing down progress and limiting results. The monolithic platform was a great idea at the beginning of MarTech. They grew up from being excellent at doing one thing or a few things like a CMS, but then they added on capabilities to that: personalization, analytics, search, et cetera, along their journey. And while this accelerated progress at first, organizations found out that those platforms were good at their original core, but maybe didn't do the best at all the other things that got added on along the way. And then that led organizations who use those platforms down a path of spending tons of resources and time building on and then working around some of those limitations. So organizations have built on that monolithic platform are now adopting the composable mindset to take control of their destiny and moving to use platforms purpose-built for specific functions and choosing ones that are the right fit for them, that work well for them and that align to their vision.
Right. I think so. I'm going to throw a curveball at you here. I wonder what it was about the sort of monolithic platform that was so attractive in the beginning. Like, why was everyone heading towards that? And it's, when I look at the data that we have from CMSWire, what you see is kind of tension between the user experience for your marketing team, like being able to find everything in one place, and the customer experience that they're trying to create. Would you say it's fair to say that the customer experience seems to have won out there, or is composable like a more difficult user experience for your employees?
Well, I think it's both, really. But the driver is the customer experience, without a doubt. That is the thing driving and motivating companies to continue to innovate with their digital experience. That money talks, and it's always that'll be the driver for forever.
Right. So organizations are looking for a lot of benefits, that we can see here in this transition to composable. And my question for you is, are they looking at the right ones? Is composable going to be easier to operate? or easier for teams to build experiences. Are executives, are they thinking about the benefits of Composable in the right way? Or is this one of those cases where they maybe don't know what they don't know?
I think that if they're looking, I think they're looking at for the right outcomes, 100%. Speed, for example. We've done bake-offs with clients, building a microsite. One team builds using their monolithic platform. Another team goes and builds the same thing with a composable platform. Monolithic team is done in 2.5 weeks. Sounds reasonable. The composable team's done in 3 days, right? So the evidence is there that you gain speed. If you're spending less time on, managing infrastructure and maintaining a platform and working around it, then you're spending more time building experiences for your customer. If you're looking for easier to build, better cost efficiency, lower TCO, all the things that you mentioned, all those benefits happen with Composable. But I think there's one topic we can't ignore going in a Composable direction, and that's the digital platform vision and ownership. So if you go back to that monolithic world for just a minute, when organizations bought that platform, they become fully reliant on that tech vendor for that vision to a degree, right? Because they looked at those platforms and said, well, they spend a ton on R&D, they have vast experience across hundreds of or maybe thousands of customers, and all of that gets poured into this DXP platform that offers all the capabilities I could ever imagine, right? When you build on that and benefit from all their thought leadership, but then you've entirely outsourced your digital vision to them, and trusting that will result in your ability to execute and build on that digital product. What seems like vast innovation from a single vendor can become like trying to move a barge that won't go fast enough. So when you switch to Composable, the thing to watch out for is you have to recognize that you're no longer outsourcing that vision and that leadership, right? You now own that. And so you have to be the one that's choosing those best fit Composable products. And they're smaller in scope and they're more focused and they work great, and you're no longer held up by one particular technology, but you now own the entire digital product. And from the experiences you build all the way down to how those Composable products integrate with each other. So if you're ready to take that jump or work with an agency that aligns with your team and brings that experience to the table, then you're not just ready for Composable, but you're really maturing as an organization and recognizing that you're ready to make a commitment to even an elevated digital product, ready to invest in your customer experience that is potentially ready to disrupt your industry.
Right. I wonder if does also make you more agile. And the reason I'm thinking about this is there's been a lot of change over the last 4 years, and a lot of those changes are not, happening inside of the marketing team. They're happening out in the market itself. The customer preferences are changing, the way that people buy, the way that people research, and make decisions completely different. And that's really kind of thrown marketing teams. And I wonder if not only does a monolithic system kind of lock you into, somebody else's vision of how that experience should be delivered, but it also kind of locks you in time, and it doesn't give you a lot of options for responding to changes in the market.
And change is accelerating all around us, generative AI, all the things that are happening right now. And you have to position yourself well to be able to react quickly and innovate fast.
Right. Okay, so let's move on and see how is this journey actually going for organizations. It's really clear that organizations are moving towards Composable, but how is that adoption going for organizations? Okay, and the answer, the first thing about this to really note is that organizations are not very enthusiastic about the current state of their MarTech stack. Only 45% of them say that their current stack is ideal for the needs of their organization. The remainder say that it's adequate or it's insufficient. And supporting this lack of enthusiasm, and possibly much more worrying, is that just less than half of them, 49%, say that they are very confident that their organization is prepared for the change and the disruption that they see coming in the next few years. And the next thing to note here is that 3 out of 4 organizations are not advanced in either their adoption or optimization of composable web architecture. So only 25% say that they are completely composable right now. 72% are at various points in the process of adopting composable solutions. Only 3% say they're not interested in composable solutions, which is pretty interesting and dramatic, and really kind of makes the case that composable is the future direction. So the vast majority of organizations, as it turns out, are in the early stages of digital transformation. 52% say that they're just starting out with their first solution. And there's another really interesting finding here around the process of adopting composable solutions. Okay. Digital transformation and composable web architecture adoption is not a linear process where organizations go seamlessly from one platform to another or step by step towards more and more and more composability. Organizations are more likely adopting and optimizing simultaneously in a much more, I will say it, chaotic kind of a way. More than 6 in 10, 62% are focused on both adopting new digital programs and new tools, and also at the same time increasing the maturity of their current digital programs. So of the remaining 18% say that they're more focused on adopting new digital programs, or just focused on new programs. And on the other side, 19% are just focused on increasing the maturity of their digital programs. But for most organizations, they're somewhere in the middle, kind of doing both at once. Organizations are not only still investing in new programs and platforms, they're also optimizing what they've already invested in. They're in essence kind of flying the plane where they're also trying to buy the plane at the same time. And many of them still have significant progress that they need to make here on their journey towards composable. Okay. Second. So what are some of the barriers that they're experiencing in the process of adopting composable web architectures? So what's slowing them down, impeding their progress, getting in their way? So respondents, they report common near-term concerns like security and compliance or lack of technical expertise. And organizations don't seem, some of them, as focused on the big picture, like identifying what should be in their composable strategy as they need to be. Legacy systems and infrastructure can also be barriers. Eric was talking about that, having to build a new digital first experience on top of a legacy, legacy platforms and technologies. It's also pretty common to have to use the infrastructure that you currently have to get work done while you're also upgrading, and in the process of digital transformation. And then we see the integration challenges again, which are pretty omnipresent throughout the entire survey. So there's no one clear barrier that's holding everyone back. Rather, it seems to be kind of a constellation of barriers that are probably specific to the organization, depending on the culture, the industry, or the leadership. Okay. But we also asked about more broadly about the barriers for digital transformation. So not just for composable adoption, but for digital transformation as a whole. What are the barriers that organizations are experiencing? And we see here many of the same barriers, but all of them circling around 2 main themes. So first, organizations struggle with a lack of available resources. Many of the respondents are working through digital transformation with limited resources and outdated technology. And this explains why 62% are focused on both adopting new digital programs and improving the digital maturity of their existing programs rather than choosing one or the other. A dearth of resources is also a barrier to adopting composable web architectures. A third of organizations need in-house expertise if they hope to have a successful adoption. And again, organizations are trying to manage multiple priorities simultaneously with varying success. And then the second big area of challenge is around cost. Cost is a major aspect of digital transformation. Reducing the total cost of operations and delivering cost efficiency is a big goal for adopting Composable, as we've seen earlier. So many organizations also feel that the cost of ownership for their total MarTech stack is too high, right? Okay. So next, we wanted to get a sense of where these executives were feeling real anxiety. You know, where do they feel like they're falling behind? And that seems to be around, for the most part, the number one answer is investing to reach customers where they live digitally. It's the top concern cited by half of the respondents. And this is followed by several related challenges like personalization, data integration, again, and the ability to deploy, update, and manage content in a DXP or a CMS platform. That's the complexity issue of like managing all of this. And finally, 4 out of 10 say that they're not keeping up with understanding changing customer behavior. And that last issue has become much more acute, as we mentioned, over the past few years, as we've seen kind of wholesale changes in customer behavior and preferences across markets over the last 4 years. So, Eric, does it surprise you to see that most organizations are so early in the stages of their adoption of Composable?
I'm not too surprised. I think most organizations are still catching up, right? They're not that digital first, digital native company. A lot of them have overbought MarTech platforms also, right? They have tools, lots of tools, and they only use 5% of their capability. You know, they have integrations to legacy technology, and it's just going to take time and resources to eliminate and untangle that tech debt. But adoption is going to continue to increase as they work through it. And I'm also not surprised because we're how far into web now. Organizations have built and rebuilt their digital product 3-4 times over. And when they implemented whatever last monolithic platform they're currently on, they thought that would be the last major upgrade, at least for a while. And now we're talking about a whole paradigm shift. So I'm not surprised that so many organizations are maybe waiting to see what happens or working through some of the things in the background to enable Composable. And maybe they're just trying to squeeze every last ounce of value out of what they've already built.
Right. So let's talk about those organizations that are really kind of caught in this transformation. Like, you know, maybe they were early adopters of some of these monolithic platforms, or maybe it made complete sense for them at the time, or maybe they were hoping for a really smooth, you know, process internally. Do you think it's possible for organizations to be both adopting and optimizing at the same time? You know, like that's pretty complex. And if it is, you know, what's the best way to go about that without creating even more complexity and confusion?
I've never seen a client who isn't changing the wheels on the car while driving 65 miles an hour down the highway at the same time, right? Business can't stop just for a technology. So of course it's possible. We've been doing it for a long time to adopt new, optimize old, all at the same time. But you know, the best way to go about it is to have a strong vision, strong leadership, know what your destination is, so you can phase that transition out and take the right steps and not have any detours along the way. You need to have a product mindset. That means strong DevOps, clarity around, you know, the future state, so everyone's going is driving towards that. If you have that product mindset, you can adopt, you know, new platforms at the foundation, your middleware, your underlying systems. And if you can represent your business kind of think about your business as an API, then you'll successfully decouple your business systems and your middleware team from your digital experience team, and they can work independently, and things accelerate pretty quickly.
Right. Among the barriers that we see, organizations talking about being really in their way are things related to both cost and complexity. And when we look at where organizations think they're falling behind, we see a lot of things related to complexity. For example, omni-channel, personalization, data integration, and adapting to changing customer behavior.
Mm-hmm.
How can CX teams grapple with the complexity that they're facing? And how does Composable help with complexity?
Well, it starts with solid product management, but Composable helps because it forces a strong architecture that allows you to move quicker. To reduce complexity, you start your Composable journey from two different places. One, you start on the back end, working with your APIs and making them API ready. Back end, back office systems. Turn the light on. Sorry. It's on a timer. Back office systems, they can't be replaced overnight, and sometimes shouldn't be replaced at all. And there's a lot of tricks you can do at an API layer to make them scale and work for digital interactions. But the other place to start with Composable is in your content. It's in your CMS. It's working through the front end application phase by phase. Start from the edges, start from your microsites, start from an app, work your way back towards the core of your corporate site or your e-commerce site. I don't think anyone wants to invest in big bang implementations anymore, where you let your dev team run for years and expect to show a result at the end of it. I think we need to show incremental progress and get some leverage that way. And this is kind of the beauty of Composable. You can work the problem in phases, and whether that's sections of a site at a time or function by function, you work your way incrementally.
Right. Do you think that the expectations around the implementation of Composable are colored by these previous experiences of implementing a big monolithic platform that would take sometimes years to implement the entire thing?
I'm sure they are, right? I mean, like I said, this is the fourth try, and here we are again having to make difficult decisions. I take the data. I think this is why this is important, and reflect on it and say, okay, well, let's try some of these, new techniques, these new architectures. Use a microsite. Use something. You got to start the journey someplace, right? Prove it out, and then when you see the benefits of it, I think you get a lot of motivation to continue the journey.
Right. I think it might really be one of the benefits here is that you're not looking necessarily at a gigantic implementation right off the hop. You can, in fact, kind of choose one area where you're trying to make an impact, like a very specific kind of impact, and just start there. It's kind of start with one integration, start here and there, and then kind of see the benefits as you go along. And maybe it's not as overwhelmingly huge, or doesn't have to be. As you might be thinking.
Yeah, I agree. And to your point earlier, Composable is about blending content and blending experiences from different platforms. So you don't have to move off of whatever you're using right now in whole. We can start pulling pieces of different Composable platforms into that experience and weave them together throughout the process.
Okay. So next thing we want to show you is some insights that we've gained from the data about what the path to Composable looks like. And in order to do that, what we're going to do is to separate out the 1 out of 4, the 25% of the survey respondents who say that they are completely composable. And we're going to compare them to those that are just starting out with Composable solution. And this comparison, when we were really analyzing the data, showed us some really clear patterns in the advanced groups, barriers and benefits, and their successes offer some insights on achieving success with Composable. So let's take a look at that. And first, Let's look at how the barriers to digital transformation are different for the most advanced composable group. And our most advanced group, by the way, is the dark blue. If you're kind of following along here, and also just want to reiterate that all of this data is available for you in the white paper if you want to download the research report from the Docs tab and take a closer look at it later. So first, does our completely composable, our most advanced group, where are they having less trouble, right? And here's where it is. They have better integration and more resources. So they really seem to have overcome the issues related to securing the investment in digital transformation. And they also seem to have a better handle on integrating technologies, which is exactly what you would expect from an advanced composable group. However, where are they likely to have greater challenges? They are more likely to say that technical complexity is an issue. And they're also feeling the pain of limited insights into the customer journey a little bit more. So integration complexity increases as organizations get more advanced. It's kind of a no-brainer, but you have to think to yourself that this is a big journey, right? You start in this place that's very basic and simple, right? And then you start adding complexity and adding additional capabilities as you become more composable. You're adding complexity as you go, but you're also adding capabilities and you're increasing your ability to deliver more complex experiences. So in a way, the least advanced group almost doesn't know what it doesn't know, right? Like they seem to be in a place where they almost don't realize the limitations that they're under. And in a sense, composability gives you, insights as you go along the journey into what you're truly kind of looking for. All right, a little bit more here. Let's take a look at the outcomes that organizations say that they've experienced over the past 2 years from their digital transformation efforts. And organizations that are reporting that they are completely composable experience a number of positive outcomes from their digital transformation compared to those with little to no adoption. The completely composable group are having more positive outcomes. Specifically, they are seeing increased customer loyalty. They say that they are keeping up with the pace of change better. They also say that they've improved customer lifetime value, which is amazing. That's a very hard metric. And they are having increased signups and new customers. And that last one is a very dramatic difference of 23 percentage points better for the completely composable group. And since the completely composable groups say that they're more likely to be keeping up with the pace of digital change, let's take a look at a related metric, which is where they think they're falling behind. So, and here we see something interesting again that illustrates how you often don't know what you don't know, right? On the one hand, our completely composable group is dramatically less likely to worry that they are falling behind in understanding customer behavior. That's a 13 percentage point difference. They're also 2 or 3 times less likely to worry that they're falling behind in understanding how to use generative AI to impact their business. But they are more worried about process automation and personalization. So this illustrates, again, that journey towards composability and how you're focused on changes. As you become more composable, you're taking on more sophisticated and complex challenges, creating more sophisticated and complex customer experiences, and you're able to deliver more of those personal experiences for your customers. Okay. And finally, let's take a closer look at some of the ways that being more advanced with composability really changes your perspective. So the most advanced group is dramatically more likely to say that digital transformation is a critical priority for their organization. They're also more than twice as likely to say that their budgets for digital transformation are increasing significantly. And we've seen earlier that the most composable group was more likely to be seeing better outcomes. But here's more, additional evidence. Like, not only is digital transformation still a high priority for those who are completely composable, but the budgets are being allocated to support it. And finally, the completely composable group is more than twice as likely to say that their MarTech stack is ideal for the needs of their organization. So that's here's the enthusiasm that was missing among the larger group for the current MarTech stack. Those who are completely composable are really saying that the current state of their stack is much more ideal for the needs of their organization, that they're really able to deliver what they want to deliver. So Eric, why are we seeing such a dramatic increase in the budgets for organizations who say that they're already completely composable? Is it just that they've made the case, or do they need to make further investments, do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question. First of all, if you're already completely composable, congratulations, you're feeling the benefit of controlling your destiny. And you have the digital maturity to manage the digital experience. I think it's a great place to be. I think, why are they seeing an increase in budgets? It's simply because they're seeing better results than ever before. They're responding to customers faster. They're improving conversion rates. They're seeing better customer retention. All those metrics are moving in the right direction. So I think budgets are increasing as an indication of progress and success, and those organizations want to keep seeing those results improve. And I think these organizations are finally able to execute on their vision. They're finally able to deploy personalization at scale. They're finally able to implement A/B testing quickly. And if you think, before, they were only using about 5% of the tools they purchased. Now they're able to go deeper, and budgets are increasing because they're ready to get into the next capability and start creating new things for their customers.
Right. So let's talk about metrics for a second and outcomes. The most advanced composable organizations are really seeing dramatically higher customer loyalty, improved customer lifetime value, which is a really tough metric, and new customer acquisition. So what do you think is going on there? We saw in other data that understanding the customer journey was a much higher priority for the composable organizations. Do you think that's what's making the difference here?
I think it comes down to the fundamentals, right? The monolithic platform organizations are spending 80% of their effort on tasks that don't improve the customer experience at all. Composable organizations have completely inverted that model. Do these organizations see better results because they place higher priority on understanding the customer journey? Maybe, but that's one way to put it. But I think that the question is backwards. I think they prioritize understanding the customer journey better because they finally have the ability to do something with the information. They have the ability to go faster and build experiences quicker, and with more customer insights, they can quickly turn that digital experience into the best version of their brand, and that makes them more effective, and all the metrics that you just said improve.
Right. We've seen this also in other CMSWire research, that the more you can get all of this data integrated, you can query it, right? Like if you're trying to understand customer behavior, you start asking a lot of questions, and if it's like a pulling teeth to like get your data to play nice with each other and help you answer those questions about what's going on, you really can't get there. Like, you may have all the data you need, but you can't bring it all together.
You couldn't even begin to think about it because you were busy doing so many other things just to keep the lights.
Right. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us all today. We're going to take any questions from the audience now, Michael.
Yep. All right. Thank you for that presentation. Let's get into some Q&A. So for the first question, are you seeing customers on a monolith jumping straight to composable, or are you seeing preliminary steps organizations are taking?
I think it depends on the complexity behind it. Most are taking it in pieces, and they're incrementally working their way towards it, doing a test run with some composable tools, seeing the benefit, proving the case, and working their way through the process.
Okay. For our second question, How long does it typically take to transition from a monolith to composable architecture?
It can be months. Sometimes it can be years. Not to be a scary number. I remember seeing in the data you just showed, you said organizations that have just started their composable journey, that metric jumped way up right out of the gate. So they're seeing some immediate results. But the full journey to change every single bit of technology that touches a customer could take a long time. But you can get quick results in the matter of months. 3 months, 6 months. You can get some microsites. You can get landing pages up. There's a lot of things you can do at the very beginning of the journey to start seeing the benefits.
Gotcha. Okay, and then another one. How can we best leverage data analytics and real-time testing for targeted markets?
Gotcha. Yeah, interesting question. I mean, I think data analytics and get to real-time testing is slightly different, but um, I think a lot of organizations kind of just focus on the quantitative data, looking at their Google Analytics, those, how many people came to the site. I think as you mature down this digital journey, you have to start looking at your analytics like a conversation with the customer. Your website, yes, it's just a digital version of your brand, but how do you turn it into your salesperson and have a conversation? So I like to add on things like qualitative analytics tools that allow you to maybe do session replays or understand what the customer is looking for in a deeper way. Put yourself in their shoes, and you can even watch sessions in real time, and see what they're looking for and start reacting to it with your content and with the different things you're building for them.
Awesome. All right, and then another one. What are the main challenges organizations face when adopting composable architectures? And how do the outcomes of priorities differ from those that have fully embraced these architectures compared to those that have not?
I mean, I think some of the challenges we've sort of addressed here. Sometimes it's getting that mindset to change and get yourself away from, oh, we're just building a website. No, you're building a digital product. This is a version of your brand that is more important than ever. So there's a mindset shift that has to happen. Sometimes there's a challenge with getting an investment into this architecture change. Like I said, you've done this a few times before. We've been down this path. Are we going to start over once again? I think the benefits speak for themselves and are a good argument to create support for some testing of these architectures and see how they work in your organization.
Right. I think adding on to that from the perspective of the data, early on in the process of starting to adopt composable, it looks like what the really big challenges are things having to do with the costs. So making that investment, making the case for it inside of the organization, and also tackling some of the integration of these tools, like the complexity that comes along with integrating tools in the enterprise. And it looks like as you get kind of further along in that journey, those fall away some. Those are not as big challenges for organizations who are further along. So that's one thing that really does change. However, what does become more of an issue when you're more advanced and when you're further along is things having to do with personalization and creating really complex experiences, because in a sense, now you can. So you gain capabilities along the way, but it also creates its own set of challenges. So.
Yeah, and that initial investment, it's relative to where you are in your journey. I think that younger companies, they're probably not even considering monolithic because they have to buy everything. That's a huge investment for a bunch of tools that you might not be ready for at all. The nice thing with Composable is you can buy them in bits and pieces. You can buy just this one CMS or this one personalization tool and take it one step at a time without making a monster investment up front.
All right. I think we had enough Q&A there. I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. I want to thank Eric Stoll and Sarah Kimmel for being here today, and Arke for sponsoring today's webinar. And last but not least, thanks to all of you in the audience for the time and attention today. Today's webinar was recorded, and you'll be receiving a link to that recording in a follow-up email, so keep an eye on your inbox for that. In the meantime, thank you all once more, and we will see you on the next one.